All right, now this, as many of you know, violent protests erupt overnight in Minnesota in the wake of the Memorial Day death of George Floyd, a black man killed while in police custody. Last night's protests began peacefully, but as you know, it turned violent with looting, tear gassing, even a fatal shooting. The mayor of Minneapolis is pleading for peace right now. He wants to see action taken against the officers he thinks is responsible for George Floyd's death. In fact, here's what Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said earlier.
I've wrestled with, more than anything else over the last 36 hours, one fundamental question. Why is the man who killed George Floyd not in jail?
And that is the topic of conversation. I want to bring in our panel right now. I have Victoria Tonsing joining us back here, also Tom Basile. Tom, good to see you back on to weigh in on this. Such a heavy topic, and so much is happening in this area, so much unrest, so much anger. Your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, look, I applaud the Trump administration for moving swiftly to order a Justice Department investigation here. But you know, I happen to agree with the mayor. I don't understand. I know these officers have been fired. They will get their day in court. But why haven't they yet been charged with video evidence that I feel is very strong? So you know, I think that the DA there has some explaining to do as to why charges have not been brought. But what's really important, whether you're black or white, whatever politics you are, is that we don't compound the tragedy with this type of violence. And we learned something after Ferguson. After Ferguson, a lot of misinformation was spread. People were bussed into Ferguson. A lot of the folks that perpetrated the arson fires and the violence were actually activists that were organized outside of town, and they were bussed in. And we hope that that's not happening in Missouri and in Minnesota, because that compounds this type of tragedy.
Victoria, I'd love to give you your thoughts on this as well. Also, will we see reform in Minneapolis, police reform?
Well, Minneapolis was a very blue city in a very blue state, and I'm wondering why is the mayor not on the political hot seat for having a police force that doesn't seem to know what the protocol is? The hold on that poor man was not approved by anybody on the police force. It was against protocol. Why did that happen? Why do they have people on the police force that carry out that crude, horrible hold on him? It could happen to anybody. You have bad policemen, and police forces have to weed them out. And the mayor should be right on top of that. He should not be just sticking the finger at the police force. He should be sticking it in his head himself and deciding what reforms should take place.
Yeah, you know, Victoria, just to get back on your point there of calling on the mayor, I question the chief of police, the head of the police organization there, getting these guys trained. At what point is it okay to hold someone down with your knee like this, seeing something like this happen? Is this even protocol? Because what I've read, and my friends that are in the police force, this is not how things are done. This is not representative of other police officers. Victoria. And
the officers with them, what were they doing, sucking their thumbs? My gosh, why didn't one of them run up and say, stop it already?
Yeah, and that's why they all probably need to be charged. I mean, that's and there will be some determination as to what they would be charged with.
I'm a former prosecutor, so I know it sometimes takes. You got to look at the tape, and you got to decide what the charges are, and you don't want to come out with a half-assed indictment and then have to take it back and change it. So.
Yeah, that's the point there. That's what it is. These investigations do indeed take time, and it's such a a reeling subject, really just even difficult to even watch something. You want justice to be done now, and they are dotting those I's, crossing those T's. Tom, what about the body cam footage that, again, the public is waiting to be able to see? Does this make any difference at all, or have we seen enough?
Look, more evidence is always good, right? And the more information that you can have that's certainly going to be important. And we just have to make sure that when it's rolled out, that every elected official and community leaders as well, particularly within the Black community, all plead for calm. And that we try to move through this as quickly as possible. But Sean, we need a real conversation about urban violence generally in this country. 10 people were killed in Chicago over Memorial Day weekend, largely in Black neighborhoods and minority neighborhoods, and there are no protests, there are no riots, there's no media coverage of that.
Yeah.
And so that's something that every time this happens, we talk about it for a few days. But it's rooted in a much bigger problem of urban violence that we haven't addressed in this country.
Well, it brings me to my final point, is what do you not see? What do you not see that's not recorded on a cell phone? We got to see something like this because someone recorded it. It's sad to understand if maybe more stuff happens like this all the time. I think we know that it does. Victoria, Tom, thank you for this discussion. Stick around. We've got a lot more to cover. Stay with us.